What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. We have had FA Cup shocks, we have had double game week shocks, we've had so much to throw all our FPL planning out of the window, so a lot of us are playing our wildcards in game week 26. Here is a first draft. Welcome back to another video, everyone. FPL Harry here. Today we are talking Game Week 26 wildcard, a strategy that is going to be very, very popular based on the recent FA Cup results and form of some of the players that we went in and bought in Game Week 25, i.e. Liverpool assets. Although they did okay in the end, I think a lot of us will be looking to potentially move off them on this Game Week 26 wildcard. At time of recording, I'm not 100% locked in on the wildcard, but I don't see myself not pulling it. I think I'm about 95% sure that it is going to be activated going into Game Week 26. I will confirm that tomorrow in my team selection video. Just before we dive in, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on this video. So Game Week 26 wildcard, it's likely to be a bench boost in Game Week 29 following, and then a free hit to be played in Game Week 32 as well, looking at a little bit of a chip strategy. Game Week 32 likely to be not a massive blank game week. However, a lot of the assets that we likely will want to own in potentially Manchester United assets, in Man City and Brighton as well, likely to blank that week. So although it's not massive, it's still probably where we want to play the free hit. And the wildcard in Game Week 26 will likely set us up very nicely for a bench boost in Game Week 29. So a Game Week 26 wildcard, of course, we had Leicester versus Brentford being confirmed to take place in Game Week 28 in the blank game week. Plus, we had Spurs versus Southampton confirmed to go ahead. I have to say, this is take 2 of recording this video. I recorded it expecting either Spurs or Southampton to win in their what looked like straightforward FA Cup fixtures. And now I'm sat here at 10 o'clock recording it again. So if that isn't enough commitment, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. But diving in to this wildcard draft, we have gone with Danny Ward. Of course, Leicester do have the fixture in Game Week 28, plus they double in Game Week 29 as well. When we look at a bench boost in Game Week 29, having a cheap goalkeeper in Danny Ward that you can hold through is quite nice. And then we've gone with David Raya, the highest scoring goalkeeper in FPL at the moment at 4.8 million plus. He does double in Game Week 27, he does play in Game Week 28, and he doubles in Game Week 29 to be part of that bench boost. Brentford do look good defensively, so happy with that goalkeeper combination and not spending an awful lot of money on the goalkeepers. Although this draft have a reasonable amount of money spare, I do think it's nice to have a couple of cheap goalkeepers that we can play in the upcoming game weeks. Now, moving into defence, we start with double Newcastle. Now, Newcastle do play Manchester City this week, and you'll be hoping not to have to play either of them in this week using this wildcard draft. But they do, of course, play in Game Week 28 against Nottingham Forest in the blank. They then have a double in Game Week 29 as well, so you can hold both Trippier and Botman for the sort of foreseeable future. They may also double in Game Week 31 as well. There is a small chance that they do have a double in Game Week 31. Now, Rico Henry is the Brentford defender we've gone with. You could go with Pinnock, very similar price. I have just favoured the fullback, although Pinnock has slightly better attacking numbers. I have just favoured Rico Henry. Again, the double in Game Week 27, then they play in Game Week 28, and they double in Game Week 29, like David Raya as well. The double in Game Week 29 is not great from a defensive point of view, so I have gone with the attacking threat that I think Henry can offer here. Elsewhere in defence, we have Dunk as our Brighton defender. If Estupiñán looks like he's going to be fit and back available for selection for Brighton, then potentially I might make the sideways switch, but it doesn't necessarily look like he's going to be back for Game Week 26, and then that will cause a bit of a headache going into Game Week 27. And even if he's just coming back from injury, if he's fit to play, is he going to play both of those in the double, then play both in the double in Game Week 29 as well? There's enough doubt in my mind that I think I might swerve him and just go with Lewis Dunk. And then the final defender we've got, we have covered the Arsenal defence. They look really good at the moment. They have a nice run of fixtures, including playing in the blank in Game Week 28. We have gone with Zinchenko. Picked up an assist tonight in the second part of Game Week 25 in the double, 5.1 million. Really nice option and looks pretty nailed the way that he is sort of creating chances for that Arsenal team. It was Gabriel in the latest draft, but I've decided I think Zinchenko is the one that I would own short term. There is a bit of rotation risk with Tierney potentially if there's a lot of fixtures, but they don't really have those going forward. So I do think Zinchenko, it looks like he's going to be nailed on to play over the next couple of weeks. Moving into midfield, we do have the triple Arsenal in here. So we have Saka and we have Odegaard at the moment. Now, Martinelli has really been a pain for a lot of us. A lot of us sold him going into Game Week 23 when they had that double game week and went to Odegaard. Odegaard did score, but Martinelli with a massive haul this week just means that maybe you'd want to favour him. I do think there's a slight doubt when Game Week 28 comes around when Trossard is there favouring over Martinelli potentially. Then you've also got Jesus potentially coming back. That there might be a bit of a benching for Martinelli on the horizon. But Martinelli does look really good at the moment, so it's a pretty 50-50 call. But this draft does have the safer pick in Odegaard in at the moment. And of course, Wonder Kid, Bukayo Saka, congratulations to anyone who captained Saka this week. I did captain Mo Salah and unfortunately came off slightly worse off, although after that late Salah goal, didn't end up being quite so much, about a 4-point swing between the two of them. We do, of course, have Marcus Rashford, only one Manchester United asset in, so I don't necessarily need them because they play Liverpool in game week 26. Then they do have a nice fixture going to Southampton in game week 27, but then they blank in game week 28. In game week 29, the transfers that I plan with this draft will be Odegaard up to Bruno Fernandes and Zinchenko up to Luke Shaw, adding 2 double game week players, of course, for the bench boost in game week 29. So those are the planned transfers that this squad has, but Marcus Rashford, with all the value we have tied up in him, is going to be in this squad for game week 26. Then we have double Brighton midfield. Now we have Mitoma, and I think everyone's pretty confident they'll go with Mitoma. He looks really good, one of the main sort of threats for Brighton since the sort of restart since Christmas. Nice and cheap at 5.3, and he's fully fit. That cannot be said about Solly March. 5.1, the cheapest of those Brighton mids, but he is yellow flagged. I'm going to be looking at the Brighton press conferences. If he's going to be fit and available, to be honest, if you look at this squad, March doesn't actually start in your squad in game week 26. He's on the bench. So if I think March is going to be back available for game week 27, I may well have him in the wild card. However, if it's not going to be him, I might go McAllister, but I really do think that March is the better option. I'm not confirmed on the wild card, but I think I'm about 90% sure that it's going to be active come the deadline. And then we move up front, and we've had to ditch Ollie Watkins now that Spurs do play in game week 28. I might look to make the sideways move, but I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to. Haaland is in there, so although he doesn't double in game week 29 and doesn't play in game week 28, I am going to keep Haaland. Newcastle and Crystal Palace in the next 2, and then from game week 30 onwards, you will want to be owning Erling Haaland. Then Harry Kane, again, as I say, with that fixture now confirmed against Southampton in game week 28 as a bit of a shock. No double in game week 29 is a slight pain, but I still am going to hold him. The fixtures are so nice for them over the next few, and they look good after game week 29 inclusive as well. So happy enough with Kane despite no double, and happy enough with Haaland despite no 28 and no double in 29. And then we have Ivan Toney. So Ivan Toney with the double in game week 27, then the double in game week 29, and playing in game week 28 now against Leicester as well. I think this is going to be a very template team, a very template front line going into that wildcard. Some people might try and squeeze Ollie Watkins in or Iheanacho, but I think this is the front three that I would be going with. Then Ivan Toney. Now the question in the comments is going to be, do we think he's going to be okay? Looking at Toney's post on Instagram, looking at the reports that we have, I can't see a suspension for Toney coming before game week 29. He might get suspended for yellow cards because he's only 2 yellow cards away from a suspension, but unless that happens, I don't think the sort of betting going to the courts is going to mean that Ivan Toney is going to miss any matches in the near future. So this is my wildcard draft. In terms of the lineup that we would have for game week 26, you'd bench Botman, you'd probably bench Trippier, and then you'd probably bench Solly March as well, looking at the fixtures that we do have this week. Captaincy would be on Erling Haaland. Again, I will confirm if I'm going to activate my wildcard going into game week 26 in my team selection video on Friday morning. Let me know what you think of this draft. If there's anything in particular would change. Again, there's loads of money in the bank to do the upgrades of Zinchenko to Luke Shaw and Odegaard to Bruno Fernandes going into game week 29 as well. Thank you all so much for watching. We're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. Let me know how you got on in game week 25 as well. Good luck with the rest of your tinkering. Like and of course subscribe before you go, and I'll be back again very soon.